there, David's. Now come on out with David Leddick one more time. Yes, here we are. We're at Gusto, which is my favorite restaurant in Miami Beach. And we're just, if you hear little noises, that's the traffic, that's the waiter, that's the dishes. I'm talking today to my great friend Dolph Spain. I've known quite a long time here in Miami Beach. And he has deigned to tell us about himself. Dolph has actually been with his partner Lloyd for what,
47 years.
47 years, so he's got plenty to talk about. But first of all, I want to know, we always ask the same three questions, Dolph.
Okay.
The first one is like, when did you realize that you kind of like guys better than gals?
When I started playing with girls.
At what age?
Oh, very, very early. I had cousins, girl cousins. And I used to play with them a lot. I was much more interested in them than I was what the boys were doing. You know, the football, the baseball, those kinds of things.
I had paper dolls a lot when I was like 5
I don't think I had any. I didn't have any dolls or any paper dolls, but I like to just. I played with the girls, and you know.
I always did.
We did girl things, I guess.
Yeah. What would you say? 7, 8, younger?
Well, let's see.
I was younger. I was in kindergarten, surely.
It was the, let's see. I would say I was probably in early elementary grades.
Yeah. Where was this?
This was in rural eastern North Carolina. Between the capital, which is Raleigh, and the Outer Banks. I mean, the Outer Banks are about 90 miles away.
Yeah.
And it was very rural, very country, and all that stuff.
Oh, good. Listen, then the next thing is like, when did you really kind of first do something? It's not necessarily sexual, but some kind of thing where you realize, yeah, I do like guys better, and I'm planning to be with guys.
Well, I developed an attraction for an older guy who came home from the Army. And
you were what, 16,
I
17?
was probably, I might have been 12 or 13, 12 or 13, somewhere in there. And every time that I would get a chance to see him pass by, I would make sure that I was somewhere convenient to see him. And then I think in my teenage years, I did play with I did run with the boys, and there were one I was particularly interested in, who was about 3 years younger than I was, but never did anything overtly. You know how it is at that age, especially when I grew up.
Dolph, I slept with everybody.
Well, not me.
No,
in rural eastern North Carolina in the 1940s, you did not sleep with everybody.
Because it's funny, my brother-in-law was talking about Michael Jackson. He said, all these young people. I said, 13 isn't so young, John.
I often regret doing some things I wanted to do.
So,
it actually was, the first act was with a older cousin who asked me to do things to him, and I found them pleasant. And so,
you were how old then?
I was probably maybe about 15. Probably 15 when I first did have a sexual act with a man.
So when you left the Carolinas, and then what did you do? Did you go to a big city, go to school? What did you do?
I did various things. I actually studied the ministry for 1 year. I went to Washington, D.C., worked in a bank, won a contest where they wanted to train me as an honorary dance instructor.
Hey, this is an interesting person.
And then was drafted into the Army and served my country well during the Korean War in France. Far from Washington, D.C. and rural eastern North Carolina. And I came back, and then I went to college and ended up with 3 degrees.
So when do you feel that you were kind of like officially out?
I was officially out when I met my dear, dear friend, Herbie Spoyette, at East Carolina University. He brought me out in many ways except sexually. He was far more liberal than I was coming up from eastern North Carolina, and he explained a lot of things to me that I didn't know about, and they I was a little older than they were because I had been to ministerial school and been in the service. And there were a group of about 5 guys who had a little clique during that period of time in the mid-1950s. And they invited me to do things with them. Yeah. And I did, but nothing sexual because...
It was your crowd.
It was my crowd, and I, at that time, didn't know what was going on, really, you know, and I had been around, and I didn't know about the subculture at that time. I didn't know there was a whole subculture.
Clubs.
There was a few here and there, even though I had been in the Army, Washington, D.C., and I knew there were some of us out there, but I didn't know that there were a lot of us out there.
10% of the
and then there was an older man who lived near the campus, and he used to invite us over, and that's where I came out. Because we would date these girls, and we would go to the white ball and the various dances, and then after that was over, we would go to his house. And my friend told me, he said, we're going to buy Jack Daniels tonight, but we're going to put it in the closet, because if not, the rest of the people will start drinking it. So I actually came out of the closet, in the closet, drinking Jack Daniels. And that night, we were dressed for the dance and everything, and so Claude, the host, found me a pair of black shorts and a black t-shirt. So they dressed me that night, and I was seduced that night, but not by my friend Purvis, but by somebody else.
There you have it.
Yeah.
That's great. All right, listen. This is Dolph Spain, and we're going to bring, and actually, I think we're going to do another one with you and Lloyd.
Lloyd is much shyer than I am right now.
We'll force him out. Anyway, thanks very, very much.
Good.
It's very good.
I enjoyed it.
Thank you. See you soon. Bye.